And what do you know? We were expecting these two to come out, and already two bans towards the mid lane.
Yes, indeed. Twisted Fate aims at xPePii in the mid lane, Zed as well on the other side. So we were talking about that earlier, and that will be banned away. Jarvan and Lee Sin will follow.
Well, currently we're 4 for 4 on high priority picks that we were expecting here. Yes, Lee Sin and Zed are red side high priority bans, but for this matchup specifically, we were definitely expecting them here.
Well, this is an interesting one, yeah.
Yeah.
So we do have the Rumble coming out here from the blue team, that being Ascension. They will be taking that away from the top lane.
Yeah, we weren't so much expecting Rumble bans. We've seen, in European Challenger, we've seen a lot of Rumble being played. Not as the last ban makes a lot of sense. We've already talked a little bit about that, but Maokai instantly picked up in that top lane.
Yeah, interesting. So we'll see what they pick into that. We could maybe see a potential Irelia. We know in the top lane meta at the moment, it's all about the top lane meta as we head into 4.19, which is the patch we're playing on currently. So we do have a very fast lock-in of Thresh and Kha'Zix as well. Very decisive on this one.
And with Thresh getting locked in, this maybe sets Angelus up for that Leona pick. Again, it is dependent somewhat on that mid lane player, so I don't expect to see the Leona locked in anytime soon. I have a feeling that Ascension will hold off on their support pick for now, but Kha'Zix makes a lot of sense. Lee Sin and Jarvan not available. Default them to the next best tier of junglers, that being Kha'Zix and Rengar.
Right, so very possible we could see a Rengar coming in here as we have the Lee Sin ban, we have the Kha'Zix coming out, and then you look at the next tier pick, which could be, well, Jarvan auto banned out, so probably looking at a Rengar. What we do have for certain is the Jayce actually being locked in here by Ascension, followed by the Corki as well for the bot lane.
And now those are two very poke-heavy champions. They're great at sieging in the mid-game phase. We've seen so much Jayce, not only in Challenger in Europe, but everywhere around the world alongside that Corki. Ever since Worlds, pretty much unanimously, Jayce has either been banned or picked in almost every game.
And we take a look at this lineup, and it's also looking like the makings of a poke composition coming in from Ascension Gaming. So we'll see how this one develops. Now looking towards the next couple picks from Giants. And while they do have the Kha'Zix, there's the hover over Irelia, and indeed locked in. So we will have the Irelia-Maokai matchup in the top lane.
Yeah, indeed. And again, this is a very common matchup that we're seeing now that Nara's banned away. Irelia, Rumble, and Maokai are the typical top lane picks right now. It's a bit of a stalemate of a lane because the laning phase is somewhat more Maokai's than Irelia takes a little bit of the later game, but it really does depend on jungle pressure, and that's something we'll have to watch as we head into the game. But this is a little bit different from the AD carry.
Yeah, this is an interesting pickup. Jinx comes out from Giants at the AD carry, and there's a lot of lot of AD carries available, and chooses to go Jinx over that. Fast response by Ascension though, with the Vi coming out, so not even going with the Rengar. Looking at the tier of junglers kind of below those top tier junglers at the moment. So Vi comes out, and Janna as well. It just seems like Worlds picks all the way down the line from Ascension.
Yeah, right up until that Vi. And one thing this will sort is when you're running a poke composition, having a lot of engage against you is a bit of a problem. So I think that's one thing they were trying to mitigate somewhat by having some more pick potential on the side of Ascension here with Vi. So they'll be able to get in front of turrets, siege up, and catch anyone out that's getting low health from their siege. The final pickup for Giants was Xerath. And now Xerath is a great champion for stopping siege because he has immense wave clear and a lot of poke himself. It's kind of a poke battle in that kind of situation. Alongside Jinx, that's a lot of wave clear from Giants. So I expect the siege perhaps to be broken if Ascension don't land all of the poke that they fire out.
Right, so it'll be pretty interesting to see how these lineups go up against each other. So while we've touched on the top lane, we've even looked at the mid lane a little bit as well. But what we haven't spoken about is the bottom lane with the Corki, the Janna, up against a Thresh and Jinx, and we just don't see Jinx very often when you have all those other big AD carries at the moment. We actually see a lot of Corki Lucian, and I was a little bit surprised that we didn't see it in this game.
Yeah, there are a couple of options when going up against the Corki. Lucian is the strongest one. Graves has come back into the meta. Sivir is another. Jinx saw a little bit of play in Challenger. It's to do with outscaling Corki throughout the game, so we'll have to watch for that and see which team is ultimately going to come out on top.
So we are mere seconds away from getting into our first game of this best of 3 between Ascension and Giants. But make sure you head over to Twitter, use the hashtag LCS expansion, there we go, at LOL Esports, and send us your predictions for how you think this match is going to go.
Yeah, and I really can't tell right now, coming from Champion Select. These are two different champion setups here on our teams, and certainly are two teams that aren't, you know, the likes of a Gamers 2 or a Reason Gaming, who have a lot of knowledge about them that is available. These are two more unknown teams, and we are onto the Rift.
Either way, guys, we are getting into this game. We do have Giants up in the upper right-hand corner for the red team, and in the bottom left, we do have Ascension moving out on the blue side. Heading into their jungle, we'll see if these guys go for any early game aggression, or we just see everyone fan out and go for a defensive start.
Yeah, let's just get rid of that pesky chat box. We don't need that there on stream. But we are onto the Rift, as you said. Now, looking for the early game. A common tactic, if they are in the 2v2s with that Corki setup, is to look to get that level 2 very early on, and this might be one of the most aggressive plays we've seen.
Yeah, Giants head into the jungle, will be hit up by the Phosphorus bomb, turns around, doesn't land the death sentence though. Sapling now comes across, and he will be chasing them out of their jungle with an explosion. And Giants are still sticking around, actually. Frederick is around that corner. The rest of the team saying, we probably want to be leaving this jungle around now, and they will all head back to base.
That was a pretty massive Phosphorus bomb there. To land on so many people, not only does it do the damage, it also gives the vision, so it allows them to see that hook incoming from Thresh. Once that's not available, you pretty much just deter your own push. And that's going to affect the bottom lane as well, because now that Rydle has the hook, he's not going to get that increased damage on his auto attack at level 1, which is a large part of Thresh's lane dominance when you start the laning phase. So that's going to make Ascension's bottom lane even more likely to hit level 2 first.
So both of the bot lanes are going to be arriving here a little bit late. Rydle makes sure that there's no one in that bush and throws out his death sentence before that happens. But looks like we will be going for a somewhat quieter start than we may have originally thought after that aggression from these two teams. And the junglers will be having a fairly slower start.
But bottom lanes do meet up here, and you can see Rydle trying to offset a little bit of that missing damage by just constantly auto-attacking the wave. The race really is on here to hit level 2, and Giants are actually coming out ahead because of Rydle's work.
But the Phosphorus bomb will even them back up again. Look for the Howling Gale, and they are trading off. Rydle turns around, lands the hook onto the AD carry, and we'll be following up with those rockets. Maybe enough damage here. He has to either heal or flash away. Which is it going to be? One more auto attack, but the exhaust comes down, and it will be enough to get him away, but he will have to head back to base.
That is possibly the worst thing that Ascension could have in this beginning of the laning phase. Top lane.
Top lane, they will be trading blows. ZvenE walks back to his turret and will be good for now. Looked like it was worse than it was, but Irelia getting that harassment down.
The problem with bottom lane there is that Ascension just went aggressive before you hit level 2. There is a reason that you wait until the level 2 at that situation, because you just have access to more of your abilities that on Corki right now, the difference between having a Gatling gun in these engages and not having it is a massive damage spike that just was not there for Ascension, and Giants took advantage of that one with a really nice hook. You know,
Ladooscuro didn't even go back to base. He stuck around and just tried to use that health pot and use that regeneration, but he doesn't have a lot. Janna obviously won't be healing him until level 6. Top lane though, Frederick comes in, lands the passive, and that's first blood going to Giants.
Easy pickup for Giants there. They made sure that ZvenE had traded with Werlyb earlier on in that laning phase, and that's a pretty easy gank for Frederick to begin this game off.
So, good start for Giants. It will be
nice
ZvenE a whole lot because he will be able to teleport back up to the top lane. Did manage to get more harassment down on the bottom lane for Ascension, but Giants looking dominant all over the board.
Yeah, every time Giants take trades like this, it is going to put Ladooscuro even further behind. And on a Corki that should really have the dominance, not only in the laning phase, but in the mid game against a champion like Jinx, this is a little bit surprising, because you know they had to expect this kind of setup from Giants. You know they have to have expected the Thresh, as that's Rydle's playstyle. So Ascension just going into this one a little bit overconfident, you have to feel.
Yes, indeed, as head back into their jungles. This will be Mr. trying to take away a wolf camp here. So while he hasn't been too successful looking for ganks, he is trying to take away some of that experience from Frederick in the jungle. as he was thinking about going back to base. Now trying his luck in mid lane, perhaps, but will be walking over ward, so he has been tagged by that one.
Speaking of that mid lane, you can see how the Xerath Jayce matchup is going, as Xerath for now has a little bit of the lead, as xPePii is pushing Flezeth in quite a lot here. As this lane gets later and later, as Jayce gets a little bit more damage, a little bit more poke, xPePii is going to have to sit back a little bit in this lane, and that's where Flezeth can use his shock blasts to really take advantage.
Both junglers were in the mid lane, but Frederick again considers going back and stops himself, and also considers going back again. So hasn't been super decisive, but I think this time he will be. Actually, no, he's not. He's not going back to base. Third time in a row, he's actually decided not to. Now he shows his face in mid lane. Pretty interesting play.
Yeah, I mean, he was leeching a lot of experience there, and Mister's going to show himself as well here, so I guess that's the world's most uninspiring counter gank?
Maybe. Most uninspiring gank as well, as he just kind of walks in and clears the minions. Mister charging up the Vault Breaker, and will actually be stunned here. Takes the full combo from xPePii, and we'll have to head on back. Pops a health potion, and we'll just decide jungling is a safer option.
Man, I wasn't even expecting that, I'm going to be honest. I just figured they'd walk away from each other like they walked into the lane, but strange happenings here in game number 1 between Ascension and Giants. But it is still only 1 kill so far in this game, and that came from that really nice bottom lane play. Sorry, no, top lane play earlier on. It was bottom lane resulted in a lot of a CS difference, which is still pretty large right now.
Bot lane, we just had the Flame Chompers landing, and it wasn't enough damage to take down Ladooscuro. They did drop him low once again, and this Jinx lane is definitely working out for them, but not sure if we call it in the mid lane, but the ultimate, the Rites of the Arcane, was used, and it had to, Flezeth had to burn his flash to get away from the last shot.
Look at how far Giants are playing aggressive into this lane. Xerath has a good pushing potential as it is. Pair that with Kha'Zix, they have already got that turret very low. And they are looking to pressure it out. I mean, Giants are making a power play for an objective very early on in this game.
And Giants all over the board are looking very strong. They have a CS advantage in every single lane. In the top lane, a small CS advantage in the form of a wave. Same story in bot lane, almost edging on 2 ways, and in mid lane. So just at the 7-minute mark, without an awful lot of jungler interaction, these lanes are just getting ahead.
Yeah, in that bottom lane, it's resulted in a massive power difference between the 2 AD carries. Giants have a pickaxe on Jinx already, and it's only to double Doran's on Corki. Let's take a look at how much gold he's sitting on. He's a little bit far away from any items he'd be looking for, but here could be the turning point. Mister is looking for a gank. In he goes.
He's coming in from behind, does have the Vault Breaker charged up. It will be Jinx flashing away from this one, but there's teleport from both of the top laners. This is about to get messy very, very quickly, and Werlyb comes in from the top lane, but right into the whole team of Ascension. 5 men were ready and waiting, and that's a kill in exchange, a 1-to-1 in total.
Oh, Mister didn't release the Vault Breaker there, and he gets gifted a little bit after tapping onto those Flame Chompers. Got locked up in place, but that teleport out of Werlyb, we've heard that Werlyb's teleports are pretty on form. We were speaking to a couple of players, I believe it was Broken Shard as well, we were talking to, who worked extensively in the Spanish team when he was on working with Gamers 2, said that Werlyb's teleports tend to be pretty good. That one did not quite hit the mark.
Yeah, a little bit lackluster, if anything. Rydle in the bot lane looking to put down that aggression.
Mid lane,
though, we do have Frederick coming in, has upgrades of that lead coming into Flezeth, but there's the Rite of the Arcane, lands the first, lands the second, doesn't even need the third, as Frederick has the damage.
That's a lot of damage coming out from Xerath already, and that lead is going to get bigger and bigger with kills like that. But interesting to see, perhaps Xerath, I believe he's opting towards a Morellonomicon?
It looks like it. Does have the Forbidden Idol, does have the Phoenix Codex, so you'd have to expect that is the build route.
Yeah.
So that's what he's looking towards. Does have that 20 CS advantage, however. Bot lane, Rydle doesn't quite land his hook again and gets punished hard by those rockets from Ladooscuro.
So Morellonomicon is an item we've commonly seen when you don't need to get that additional magic resist that you do see from the Athene's Unholy Grail. it provides a somewhat similar job and is slightly more efficient when laning against AD. So I'm interested to see how this build actually ends up going. But a lot of the rest of the time on you know, more commonly used AP mid laners, you see a lot more of the tier builds. Not so much on Xerath. His abilities don't come out quite so fast. You don't stack it as fast as you need to. But just interesting to see this departure here.
So, more interestingly enough, we do have Werlyb heading into the mid lane, maybe thinking of his own gank to be set up. But if you take a look at the vision over the map, there's pink wards all over the place, and he was actually spotted out by one in the river. So we'll not be able to go for this one just yet. Jinx gets interrupted and recall at the very end of the animation, and we'll have to try again back at her turret.
You can see, though, in that mid lane how far back xPePii has to sit here, because that shock blast did start to hurt him, and that is not something he can consistently take in the lane. But junglers are about to meet. Mister's expecting it.
Yeah, he turns around, just lands the Vault Breaker, lands the combo as well. Frederick will have to head right back out again and angers the dragon. So we'll be taking a couple more hits. Was he a little bit lower, would have been finished off.
Yeah, that was a good play by Mister to read that coming through the jungle, and that could have been dangerous if Frederick had had his way there.
It would have been funny, actually. Had Mister used his ultimate, that would have been a dead Kha'Zix. But either way, bot lane taking everything they can, taking white as they head back into lane. And mid lane, the CS advantage is continuing to open up with xPePii in the mid lane. 100 CS. Versus 75 from Flezeth. We'll be heading back to base with 400 gold, enough for that Morella Nomicon and the Amplifying Tome.
Cool, I'm not going crazy in the middle lane.
Yeah.
It's not an item we see all that much currently in the patch, ever since a lot of Mundo fell off. But, you know, it is bought time to time, as we said, on that AP versus AD matchup. So, how will that affect his damage? What will his next buy be? And how much is he going to farm wraiths with it? That's the other thing, because he's got a farm advantage already. He can sit fairly far back in the lane. That's going to allow him to head out to the jungle, pick up a little bit more gold for himself. That is typically what we'll see players do against a Jayce.
So around the 12-minute mark, it's very possible these teams will now start to set up for Dragon. As you can see, a lot of vision coverage over that area. Apart from the Dragon itself, it has been warded up by the blue team, that being from Ascension. So they do have that little bit of information here, Stress.
Mister has his ultimate, but he's walking over a ward here. Xerath is in this bottom lane as well.
This could get messy once again in the bottom lane. Uses the ultimate onto Adryh in the bottom lane, drags him into Rydle. xPePii trying to return some damage, and Mister is completely caught out. The box lands, and Ladooscuro is taking a ton of damage as well. Here comes the Super Mega Death Rocket, and it's death from afar as the Rite of the Arcane is also used. Hook doesn't quite land. Frederick follows through. Lands the Void Spikes for the kill, but Flezeth comes in from the middle lane as well. Gets locked down by xPePii. Now Frederick comes across, does not land the Void Spikes this time around, but a 2-for-0 is a great trade for Giants.
I'm very confused at what just happened between Ascension there. Janna monsoons the low health targets away from the rest of her team. That monsoon completely saved Giants there in that engage, and is going to result in a dragon going down. A little bit of miscommunication there from Angelus and the rest of the team, and that's going to be difficult to recover from.
Yeah, just maybe a little bit of panic there as Rydle also catches Angelus almost off guard there, as he was looking to try and get the timer on that dragon, barely escapes the death sentence. And Giants, that was an extremely good sequence of events for them.
A little bit lucky as well, you have to feel. The positioning there at a Jinx made it so that she went back towards her own turrets. So that's something that Ascension are going to have to tighten up on a little bit. But, you know, Giants will take whatever they're given right now, and that results in a dragon and a decent gold lead in this first game of the series. Now, let's see what Mister can get done up in this top lane. No wards out, but look how close it is to the turret. No ultimate for Vi yet either. It's about a quarter of the way off its cooldown still, so this gank may be a little hard work with a flash still available. Oh,
Mister actually decides to charge up the Vault Breaker very early on into this gank.
They know he's there.
Yeah, they do indeed. Flezeth's turret in the middle lane has 26 health, so Undoubtedly, that will be going down soon. But in the top lane, Mr. now shows his face. He will just actually go for this dive before the Vault Breaker's charge up. He will actually fast the Vault Breaker. Fairly telegraphed here from Ascension. And ZvenE will keep up the chase. He is out of mana. Flezeth comes in from the middle lane, but he's out of mana as well. xPePii, however, is quite good to go. This will be the two disguise from Jayce, picking up the first kill. Frederick looks to follow up onto ZvenE in the top lane. Isn't quite able to connect the dots, but taking a look at xPePii. Oh, right up the game, but it's the Golems are the one to take him down. And he just needed to keep him in place for that one. Frederick did eventually manage to chase down the tree, and that'll be 2 kills, 2 for 1 in total for Giants.
And overall, the bottom lane tower fell as well in favor of Giants. This is going from good to almost amazing for Giants. I would say even better, but it's even better than even better, Pulse. This is pretty darn good for Giants right now. They have taken the Dragon, they've taken the turret, they have a massive lead against the mid-game composition. So Ascension really need to start grouping if they actually want to compete through this mid-game, because Jinx is going to scale very well. Look at that, Infinity Edge completed already, and no sign of the Trinity Force. He's still about 700 gold away from that Trinity Force, so Corki needs a lot of time here before he can actually become relevant in the mid-game. And if there's one thing that Jinx is very good at, it is taking objectives. So Giants can really exploit that, but with some fast tower pushing if they're careful.
But Ascension are hemorrhaging gold all over the map right now. 5,000 gold advantage at 15 minutes into the game is actually very, very big. Werlyb has been caught out. He didn't manage to get the blue buff. Can he escape with it? I don't think so, as Mr. will be chasing down the criminal. Get my blue buff back onto my mid laner. Flezeth will be the one to pick it up, but the rest of Giants is coming in from the side. Angelus has been caught out. Book comes in from the skies, and it just means there's enough burst to take him out. Mr. finds Frederick. Here comes right of the arcane. Last charge will be landing. ZvenE comes in from around the side. Accelerated shock blast will be chunking them down as well. xPePii pops his own ghost to head into this range. Oh, Jinx Rocket goes right in between his team. ZvenE has been caught out here. Lands the stun, lands the death sentence as well. They should have enough damage before he drops. Oh, he will land the arcane smash onto everyone in that engagement. It's not enough damage. And again, the accelerated shock blast doesn't find its mark.
Oh, the poke just is not landing from Ascension, and Giants are just going to capitalize that all the time. And Peppy's not done here, doesn't quite land the stun. That is going to be Flezeth getting away. He managed to hold on to the blue buff. That's, if there's one thing that Ascension can take, it is the fact that they have that all-important blue buff onto Jayce, who has a lot of damage. So keep that in mind as we go through this game. But Giants are considerably far ahead. And do not underestimate this kind of composition that is so good at laying down damage in teamfights.
And during all of that, even more turrets went down. They're now 7,000 gold ahead. Literally, as all these sequences unfold, they just continue to draw ahead in this game. And Ascension don't really have any answers to them. Every time there's an interaction between the two teams, they always fall behind.
Taking a look at it, Dragon is going to be up in just over a minute. So if they can open up a position for Ascension, they may be able to get back into this game. Currently, though, there's 0-3 on top lane and jungle, and that synergy just has not been working out. When you compare it with the synergy on the other side, 4-0-3 is Kha'Zix right now, and that is a great spot to be in if you're Frederick. We know he's a very aggressive jungler. We know Kha'Zix fits his playstyle, and between Xerath and Kha'Zix, they are doing an excellent job in this game.
So if we take a scan down all of the items, with all this extra gold that they've managed to accrue, top lane already picked up the Trinity Force. Sub 20 minutes is a pretty good timer if you're an Irelia. Mid lane, another big item on top of that Morellonomicon. Zhonya's Hourglass has been complete. Bot lane, well on his way to picking up 2 big items, has the Infinity Edge and almost a static shift.
I feel like it's a bit of a shame we didn't see the Leona pick up here. Yes, it wouldn't really have helped the siege composition that Ascension were running, but one of the champions we specifically spoke to Angelus about was a champion like Xerath in the mid-game, who really is just immobile, and Leona exploits very well with that solar flare. I would have liked to have seen it just to see how it works out here, because it looks like the settings were all exactly as Ascension would have wanted it, had the picks and bans phase been kind of inverted and Ascension were red with last pick.
Yeah, I mean, xPePii did lock in Xerath as the last pick,
yeah.
So unless he was telepathic and able to predict the future, then yeah, he probably would have predicted that and picked up the Leona. However, he didn't. However, dragon in 5 seconds.
Yeah, but I mean, perhaps after ascending, I guess they're in the middle of ascending, but after ascending, maybe that is a power they will have.
Maybe, and it's relevant because Xerath is in this game. Looking at the dragon now, Giants will be taking that one away, and no contest at all from Ascension. Did they even get the timer on it? Yes, they did. There was a ward over the wall, courtesy of Angelus, but there was nothing they could do about it. Can they take a consolation prize in the top lane? That's the question here, Stress. Flezeth and Mr. are waiting in the wings.
Everything's available. Here comes Vi with her ult.
How surgical is this going to be? Voltbreaker comes in. The answer, very surgical. They will be taking him down. Top tower falls. So they will be taking a tower on a kill. Not a bad trade-off.
Didn't even need to use the Vi ultimate. They had too much damage. Ooh, mid lane, Ladooscuro. Flash Flay!
The Flash Flay into the box as well. There's the Monsoon. Oh, the hook doesn't quite land. Whistles past the ear of Ladooscuro. And Frederick, yes, he lands the Void Spikes, but he doesn't have the team behind him to dish out the damage.
Props to Rydle on that play, though. The Flash Reverse Flay is one of the most difficult mechanical skills in League of Legends. This might not be over.
No, Angelus looks like he may be caught out here. Has to flash away, but did land the Howling Gale. Here's the right of the Arcane. Lands the first, lands the second. Ooh. Doesn't land the third, which would have been the killing blow onto Angelus.
Oh, man, he dodged right back into one of them. That was touch and go for Angelus there for a second, but that whole engage, I will commend Rydle. We know he's very comfortable on the melee support champions, but that was good to see. Flashes like that are the difference between good support players and great support players, when you know you can land that time and time again.
In the bot lane, though, while that was happening, Giants did pick up another turret. So while all these trades are happening, they're continuing to pick up objectives. And it always seems that Ascension are distracted by these small skirmishes where Giants are like, all right, well, I guess we'll just send Jinx to demolish another turret.
And that's what she's really good at. Think back to 2014 season. There were a couple of interviews with the North American team Dignitas, who were just running Jinx in every single game. And they told xPePii, stand in front of turrets, your only objective is turrets. Think of champions as turrets, just get turret kills. Because that's what Jinx does.
And Jinx, talking about her, is getting chased down by Mr. Will be using that Assault and Battery, but he has been called out, getting Werlyb beat here. They will get that one kill. So Ascension burn a lot, but they do manage to get something.
They do get a kill. It's a good consolation prize right now, and they've actually forced Giants somewhat on the back foot now. They're not being as aggressive. But is it only a matter of time here before the next objective has their sights turned to it? Because Giants have been pretty good at taking dragons and towers as soon as the opportunity has arisen.
And despite Giants' pretty big gold lead at this stage, they haven't put any aggressive wards down. You take a look at their vision game, and it's pretty much in their own jungle towards the river. So it almost feels like they're just playing this even a little bit defensively against Ascension, who are pretty much doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, the vision game has been back and forth somewhat this game. No team has really dominated the vision when it comes to their enemy's jungle. I mean, they're very conservative warding out so far. Yeah. So neither team really looking to push for that. And that's quite surprising considering the number of towers that Giants have taken down. You would expect them to have the control over the enemy jungle. You can see they've already set up a couple of sweeper trinkets here and are going to use them. So maybe they can hear us. I hope not.
Fairly unlikely, but either way, we'll have Giants heading into the middle lane, clearing out that minion wave. They've not been making too many proactive plays in the last couple of minutes, though, and if Ascension needed to do anything to stop the bleeding, well, they've definitely done it. That one kill in the top lane was enough to say, look, Giants, we're not just going to roll over and let you take this game. And they have slowed down a significant way. Now contesting this blue buff, ZvenE is here with the rest of his team. Flezeth trying to secure this one, and Giants don't look too interested in trying to contest it. Top lane turret looks like it's going to be what they're after.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to be able to get Jinx in front of this turret anytime fast enough to take it down. Look at the response that's already come out from Ascension. They've got most of their team up in this top lane, and that's giving Irelia a lot of room in this bottom lane to actually ward up. They've spotted a good few members of Ascension, and Werlyb knows this time he has to get in front of this inhibitor turret.
And ZvenE is coming into the bot lane to stop him. He will be there in time, so he won't be able to just go into this turret and take it away for free. We still have to stare down in top lane, however, Stress.
We do, and the wave clear is made even stronger here for Giants by the fact they've got that static shiv onto Jinx, who is going to tick up the attack speed. Here perhaps is the defense out of Ascension.
We do have a decent amount of wave clear. Giants acknowledge that and decide to back off. What is their next play? Take a shock blast to the face. That's the one for xPePii here.
It's not a solid play. No, it isn't. I'm going to be honest.
It's not going to work out for him, no matter how you look at it, but they will just move into the mid lane. So there's a lot of posturing, there's a lot of moving back and forth between the lanes, but not a whole lot is moving.
And considering the gold gap right now, it's surprising that Giants have let this game slow. And 35 seconds until the next dragon is going to force this game to a faster pace, but Giants were in control. And when you're in control with such a massive lead on your mid laner, right up until the last couple of fights, typically you're very proactive around the map, and Giants seem reluctant to go aggressive at any kind of situation right now.
So you kind of have to ask the question, if you're ahead now and you fall behind later, is there any chance of you just catching up again and then taking away the game, as they do manage to land a hook onto Ladooscuro? This is exactly what they want. Right up the arcane, trying to land the last hit, but it will not be enough, and Rydle, in fact, will be the one to fall. So what looked like a great pick will be turned right around by Ascension.
Yeah, the damage spike for Ascension's mid-game has finally been met. Trinity Force with the Sorcerer's Shoes means they can group.
Oh, Flezeth lands the Accelerator Shock Blast, but this time also gets caught out as well. Shutdown comes in. This is a messy team fight for Ascension. They will be backing up, but losing their mid laner and AD carry in the process. Werlyb now on the offensive, taking point for his team. Moving now on to ZvenE. Also lands the zap from Jinx, and he has to go back in, be the sacrificial tree for his team. And a free for Zero. Make that a 4 for Zero as Frederick managed to chase down Angelus in the background.
All of the damage was missing from Ascension at the tail end of that fight. They just had nobody that could clean up. Even though Corki and Jayce were there, they got obliterated to begin this, and Giants are right back on track.
So what looked like a bad pick, what looked like a good pick turns into a bad pick, and what looked like a good pick also turns into a bad pick from Ascension. So that was a very, very weird lead up to that fight.
You've lost me on that very, very weird lead
I've lost
up
myself
to that as well. It's okay. We'll find you again, Pulse. We'll send out a search party. But Giants certainly don't need a search party for their lead, because they have regained it, and they are feeling very comfortable right now with this lead, you have to feel, even though Ascension have the better composition for this period of the game. But look at the jungle.
Werlyb has been caught out. He was just kind of chilling there, waiting to assassinate someone, but he was only at 50% HP. And sooner or later, Ascension are going to walk into their own jungle and kill you, which is exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is the vision game. We spoke about it earlier. Giants have been very reluctant to take control of their enemy jungle with regards to vision. Even though they have so much, strength here. Oh, the Vault Breaker right into the rocket.
A little bit unfortunate, but right the arcane lands everything, raining death down upon Ascension. They pick up that kill, and Adryh is going 1 versus 2, but actually coming out ahead. Frederick comes in from the side, gets the triple, looking for the quadra, will be taken away by xPePii. But wouldn't have been able to net the penta regardless, with ZvenE heading up into the top lane. But everyone just gets destroyed from a series of picks, and this looks like it's the middle inhibitor turret going down for Giants.
I mean, they know Maokai's in the top lane. They can afford to face tank that tower down and take the inhibitor, and that Vault Breaker from Mr. put him right back into the Super Mega Death Rocket's path and kicked off a chain of events, which now leaves Ascension with no mid lane inhibitor and possibly no chance at contesting a Baron.
And Werlyb already starting off the Baron by himself. They have plenty of damage behind him. That does allow Mr. to respawn, and he is well on his way to Baron. Can this be the steal of the century, Stress? This is what it's going to have to be, but Rydle is the one to zone him away. No, it is not today. Baron will be picked up cleanly by Giants.
And right in front of Ascension's face as well. They knew it was happening and could not get in there to stop it, but 7-0-3 on Jinx. This pick has worked exceptionally well for Adryh in this game. We spoke about how Jinx is somewhat of an unorthodox pick against a Corki, because you essentially say, we'll give you the mid game, but we'll try and take control using our support in the early game and then have the late game to ourselves. They never gave them the mid game, really. They just kind of said, hey, we'll get a lead in the in the laning phase using some pretty nifty mechanics from Thresh, but then we'll just stomp you with the rest of the game on Jinx, farming incredibly well, 7 kills, and so far ahead on the build.
And in this game, 14,000 gold advantage plus the Baron buff, they are so incredibly far ahead, that being Giants. This game is essentially not only spiraling out of control, but you have to feel they are circling the drain right now. Ascension, what can they do? Do they just start looking at the next couple of games? Because this is, of course, a best-of-3 series here, Stress. They do have time to bounce back.
One of the things that coming into this game we were looking at is how Giants line up with their old support used to play. And that was that they like to 1-3-1 split push quite a lot. And I feel like there could be a similar setup coming here because they have mid lane already pushing. They have an Irelia, and the rest of the team is immensely strong. So that is something they could look to do here if they wanted to set up that kind of pressure that all 3 lanes are getting pressured by super minions and the team. And that will be very difficult for Ascension to deal with because they don't have anyone that can really go up against the full force of the team or Werlyb. Even though Werlyb is 1-6, he is still very strong at this point in the game.
And panning down the items as well here, Stress. Look how far ahead everyone is, all over the board from Giants. They were all just so far ahead in items. 2 items pretty much for everyone. Looking at 3 items in the mid lane. In fact, no, 4 items. ZvenE here is alright. Frederick is probably the one who might be called out. Aggressive plays by Giants as he moved into the top jungle. Maybe trying to look again at this top turret. Probably going to have better success this time around. But what are Ascension looking for? Fnatic Death Push time looks like.
What I will say about the Fnatic Death Push is it is normally done in a situation where your opponents are going to cross through the jungle and not look in a bush.
Yeah, and Zap coming out from Jinx will give away the game, and they will have to head back behind this turret. Janna's shield will be mitigating a little bit of this damage, but the poke is starting to ramp up rapidly from Giants, and they will just start chunking away at this turret. The face of the mountain shield will be enough to tank a little bit of it, and they don't even need the minion wave. There has to be a time where Ascension put their foot down and try and go for this trade, though.
But the fact is mid lane is still pushing in for Giants. That inhibitor still not respawning yet means that Giants have all the time in the world right now with their Baron buff. And they do get a turret on the bottom side of the map for Ascension. The hook lands.
Flezeth has been called out, moves in with the box. Everyone is getting locked down. Rydle will be the first one to drop though with his initiation. Have they been enough more than they can chew? Well, the jungler goes down from as Mr. Flezeth as well gets hit by the right of the arcane, but a 1-for-1 trade, and he did manage to net the jungler for the support.
Baron buffed up Giants, though, and now looking to siege this tower once again. They have the Xerath to do so from the inside. However, inhibitor has respawned. That is a key point. The mid lane is no longer going to be pushing in their favor. ZvenE gets locked down.
He does, but he is fairly tanky. We'll probably have to make a trip to the fountain very shortly. But this is slowing the push down from Giants. They are still chipping away at this turret, though, and that's the important thing. They're making permanent damage. Werlyb goes deep into the base, lands the zap, and the last blaze surge. Not going to be quite enough damage. Frederick again with the flash. Void Spikes will be taking down the AD carry, and this is a very deep dive, but it looks like it's working out for Giants. ZvenE moves onto the AD carry, but it's just not enough damage. Mr. has respawned from base. It's been so long of an engagement. Werlyb heads in regardless, turns around with the excessive force, but gets pinned down by the Arcano Pulse. A 4-for-1 for Giants.
Giants have too much damage for Ascension to actually deal with, regardless of how they engage this fight. You saw just how far in Frederick went, and it did not matter, as Giants just have built themselves too much of a lead. They could even potentially look to double inhib Ascension here. They do have to be careful of this poke from Flezeth, though, and they are just going to get that inhib.
Yeah, landed the last shock blast, but was not enough to deter Adryh as he finishes off that middle inhibitor. 2 inhibitors down, 22 kills to 9, and a gigantic gold lead coming in for Giants here. 5 tower advantage. You look at all of the boxes, all the criteria for winning a game, and they've ticked everything.
And here goes another dragon to the list. Add this one onto the objectives here for Giants, because 22 kills to 9 up. Giants are looking pretty strong right now, and Ascension said they had formed this team to do well in the expansion tournament. They need to try and fix a couple of their little communication issues. They're not too far off. We're seeing flashes from them this game where they are competing against Giants, and they are certainly not out of this game yet. But the deck has been stacked against them.
This may be a case right now of, if not looking for a comeback, thinking about the next game, what they're going to be doing, not only in the champion select picks and bans, but as they head into the next game, because honestly, the picks have not been an issue here. You have to feel that, as you mentioned, some of the communication has been a little bit off, and a lot of the big gold swings have been just down to someone getting caught and then everyone else getting caught.
I mean, I would actually say a lot of this game has actually been a little bit to do with the picks, but not from Ascension's side.
Right.
The pick of Xerath was such a good setup here for Giants, and kudos to xPePii. He has done a fantastic job in this game on a champion that is difficult not to die on. His stat line is 6-0 and 11, and you cannot underestimate how difficult that is to do. So full credit to Giants for knowing what their last pick had to be and taking full advantage of Ascension.
This looks like this may be last chance saloon, though, for Ascension to try and draw themselves back into this game. Werlyb, aggressive play onto Mr. Rydle, trying to connect a death sentence onto a squishy target. ZvenE, supposed to be the most tanky member of the team, but is getting nailed. Oh, one charge of Rise of the Ascension is enough to take down ZvenE. Now, this is a 5 versus 4, and the siege will continue.
Double inhibs are down, though, so Giants have all the position in the world to take down this inhibitor turret, the last remaining inhibitor turret. And my goodness, the stat line's all down the list for Giants as they push forward into the base.
Oh, this is the last bastion of the hope for Ascension. Flezeth will be falling to kick off this fight. Angelus being followed up. Super Mega Death Rocket tags him on the way out. A 5 versus 4. This is too tall of a task. You have to feel stress. Mr. as well will be heading in by himself, falling prey as well to the lineup of Giants. And this will be game. Double Nexus turrets are falling. Nexus will fall as well. And the first game of this best of 3 between Giants and Ascension will be going to Team Giants.
That really was a good game out of xPePii. He had such a good performance. Not alone, though. You look down the list, Adryh had a great performance on Jinx. Frederick had a brilliant performance on Kha'Zix. Got into the lanes early on, got himself those kills, got the summoners in the early game, and set himself up. Giants just looked very strong in that game.
Yeah, it's looking very good.